The Green Bay Packers, all offense on day two. An offensive lineman, another receiver. Can you believe it? I can't. We're going to talk about it all on our live day two Locked On Packers.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts, you'll find Locked On Packers, the #1 Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for fans who know what happened. They want to know why and how. Thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. We hope you like starting your day with us as much as we like starting our day with you. Whoa. I did not see that coming. And I don't know how you could. After going offense with Matthew Golden on day one, that seemed like that was going against type enough for Brian Gutekunst, at least based on what our experience is here. But then at 54, with a ton of offensive players off the board and a ton of defensive players out there, pass rushers, corners, the Packers took Anthony Belton, an absolutely monstrous offensive tackle, played left tackle for 3 years at North Carolina State, 6'6", 300 pounds, 330 pounds. We'll talk about the actual player in a second. And then you get to the third round, you go, okay, it has to be a defender. It has to be someone like Braden Swinson, someone like that. Noel Williams would have been perfect. Noel Williams goes 2 picks ahead of the Green Bay Packers. And so you don't have that option for you anymore. So instead, what do? They pick a receiver who did not produce in college, did not do full testing, but had a 96th percentile speed score, and is really by essentially everyone seen as the second coming of Cordero Patterson. That's the third round pick. And that's not even a criticism. I'm just laying it out for you. That is shocking. It is remarkable that that's what the Packers did. It is so out of character for them to take a risk like Savion Williams, understanding Savion Williams, the talent. I mean, and I said this on social media. If you take the best 5, the best 10 plays from Savion Williams' college career, and you put them in a highlight reel, you can put those 10 plays up against any 10 plays any college player has in this draft class, and his would be the most fun. That's the kind of player that he is. It's not the kind of player the Packers usually draft. And I wrote about this for a story that's going to go out Saturday morning. So maybe when you're listening to this, or if you're watching live, it'll be tomorrow. It seems clear there is an ideological shift here. Maybe not even ideological is the wrong way to phrase it. But they went out and they got Aaron Banks, 6'5", 325 pounds. That's a big dude, bigger than they normally look for, it seems. They go out and they draft Matthew Golden. Well, he's not big. He's not big, strong, fast. That's what they usually look for. But he is really, really fast. He is an explosive, big play guy down the field. Well, you know what you can do if you can pass protect up front? You can huck that ball down the field a long, long way. Anthony Belton, 6'6", 336, probably played north of 340. Big, strong, fast. Big, strong, athletic. This is downhill, punch you in the mouth kind of football. He is violent. He is physical. And it is hard for me to see all of this and not think back to that playoff game against Philadelphia. And I know we over-index this all the time, and I am guilty of it too. And I it's not just me though. John Eric Sullivan, the vice president of player personnel, after the Anthony Belton pick, invoked the NFC North, the NFC, the playoffs, when you have to play, his words, big man football. And the problem for the Packers for too long, and I'm talking about going back to even Aaron Rodgers, those MVP seasons, was when teams wanted to play too high, they could not punish teams for doing that. They could, because you take two high safeties and you put a roof on everything. They could not punish teams, even with good running backs, even with good offensive lines in pass protection. They did not have downhill run blocking offensive lines. The Packers last year, 22nd in Pro Football Focus run grade, 23rd in run block win rate. That's an ESPN charting metric. They needed to get better blocking to run the ball. Josh Jacobs was incredible last year, almost solely because of Josh Jacobs and because Matt LaFleur is a wizard. But you'd like to be able to win more often with players. And what do the Eagles do? They are absolutely enormous in their front. They maul you. They play physical in the trenches. And then when you bring that safety down to stop Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts, that's when they go over the top. Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown. So what does Matthew Golden give you along with Jaden Reed and Tucker Kraft and Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs? The kind of speed and the kind of vertical playmaking that make teams want to say, we got to live in too high. We have to prevent Jordan Love from making these throws down the field, from creating big plays vertically in the passing game. Have to stop that. Cannot allow that. But then what do you get to do? You punish the teams for doing that. You say, hey, how about here's Anthony Belton coming downhill at you, 336 pounds. Here's, Aaron Banks, Josh Jacobs, Marshawn Lloyd, who you heard Evan Williams say the other day is ready to break out, an underrated piece for this team moving forward. They are trying to create a team that you are damned if you do and damned if you don't, which is exactly the kind of team you get when you play the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Eagles have better high-end talent, but I don't think the coach is as good. I don't think the quarterback is as good. And if you're the Packers, you're going, we can actually do this version of the Eagles thing better. And just as a way to set up our next discussion here, we talked yesterday, we talked early in the week about that Eagles game in a different way. We talked about if you were to take a player from this draft, a position from this draft, transplant it and put it on the Packers in January, what position, let's assume all these positions are of equal value, what position would be the most benefit, would close the gap the most with the Philadelphia Eagles? My answer was receiver. Well, what did they do? They went on in the first round and they got a wide receiver. And then they came back in the third round and drafted a wide receiver. If we had to put a second on that list, the second on that list would probably be offensive line. Because if you had one more offensive lineman that you trusted, and that could have been, should have been, if he were healthy, Jordan Morgan. And it would have been Jordan Morgan if he'd been healthy. Now you're adding another depth piece for this season, and then it's insurance beyond. We'll get into that in a second here, but the Packers, they have 5 offensive linemen right now today. They can go into this season with and feel good about all 5. You have already, if you just want to take all the teams in the league for whom that is true, you cut the league in half. Because half the league does not have 5 guys that they feel good about. They have 4, they have 3. The Packers have at least 5. How many teams have more than that? Like 2, 3? Well, the Packers have 5 plus last year's first round pick, plus this year's second round pick. That is a rare rare thing. It is a luxury on a level that I think most teams can't even comprehend. Let's talk about Anthony Belton because he is someone who I was much higher on than the consensus. So let's talk about him next on Locked On Packers. Today's episode brought to you by our pals at LinkedIn. As a small business owner, your work doesn't end when the clock hits 5. Your business is always on your mind, which means when it's time to hire, you need a partner that works just as hard as you do. That's where LinkedIn Jobs comes in. When you clock out, LinkedIn clocks in. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free, share it with your network, and get qualified candidates all in one place. And here's a pro tip. Add the hashtag hiring frame to your profile picture to double your reach to get to qualified candidates. No wonder 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn helps them find quality hires. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Let's talk about Anthony Belton because he is someone who I was late to and really only had the opportunity to study because the weather was bad today. And I had some downtime yesterday. Like I'm talking about the last couple of days. This reminds me of 2022 when I got the word late that Quay Walker was going to be, or at least in the mix in the first round for the Packers. That was someone that they really, really liked. So I spent Thursday afternoon watching him. And I came away so impressed because I was like, I have a soft spot for these kinds of guys. And the one that I'll always remember is Morgan Moses because he didn't test great. He's just this big dancing bear and it's not always pretty. He doesn't have the best form. The kick slide is not always on point, but he just freaking blocks guys. And he's just this big dude and the length plays and all of that stuff. Well, Anthony Belton is a special level athlete at his size, at 6'6", 336. Now, that was what he was listed at the combine. You go back and you read some of the stuff about his background. You read the Pro Football Focus draft guide. Was he playing at 340, 345, maybe even 350 at times? He's a big boy, but he's light on his feet for a player that size and violent. He's got that Rasheed Walker attitude where he wants to hurt people. And you watch him against Tennessee, against James Pierce Jr. and Omar Norman-Lott, and you go, he can handle this guy. He can handle the Falcons traded back up into the first round to draft James Pierce Jr. And aside from the time where the running back chipped Pierce off of Belton handled that matchup with aplomb. I just, these, and he's got almost 34-inch arms, so that's tackle arms. He's got the size to play tackle. He could compete to play tackle. So now you have Jordan Morgan and Anthony Belton, each guy the Packers think can play left tackle. Played left tackle for 3 years in college. You want to talk about traits versus production? These guys produced. They did it. There's experience. There's tape. So Rasheed Walker, 2026 free agent. Sean Ryan, 2026 free agent. You've got 2 guys for 2 spots. Let the best man win at left tackle and let the other guy compete to play guard. I think you'll see them both pass or play at left tackle in training camp. There were times when Belton played on the right side, played some right tackle in just these little pockets. I think he played 7 snaps and 4 snaps the year before, where they would just switch the side and then they'd run behind him usually because he's that good. I had a 2nd round grade on him. Like I think I ranked him a little bit lower than 54, but like a 2nd round player. The consensus was he was the 91st player. So I was much higher on him than the consensus. And that has been the case with a couple offensive linemen the last few years. I was much higher pre-draft on Sean Ryan than consensus. I had him as like a borderline 1st round player. Obviously, I missed on that eval, but the Packers clearly liked him. I had a borderline 1st round grade on Zach Tom. I nailed that eval, by the way. And I am in lockstep with the Packers on the Belton eval as well. I think this is really good value. I really like Anthony Belton in this place. And again, this goes back to wanting to change the physicality of your football team. For all of the questions, and this, we talked about this with Banks too, because that was not met with, a high level of enthusiasm, which I understand. But what adding Aaron Banks and Anthony Belton do for your team is they demand you play a physical brand of football. And the Packers showed that last year, that they wanted to do that. Matt LaFleur talked about wanting to do that. Josh Jacobs wants to do that. Marshawn Lloyd is an excellent gap scheme runner. You want to run duo and you want to pull a guard around the corner and bang heads. The Packers now have the offensive line to do that. They already have the running backs to do that, and they have a coach who clearly sees the value in doing that. And it goes back to the point that I made. You have to be able to make teams pay for playing you the way that they want to play you. The Eagles, they sat in too high that whole game. Again, I don't want to over-index one game because it changes every year who the good teams are. Brian Gutekunst, I thought, gave a great answer about that at the Combine. If you try and chase one opponent, understand that it could be a different opponent in a year. They were chasing the 49ers forever. They don't have to chase the 49ers anymore. The 49ers are something else. Now, maybe they're good this year, but they weren't last year. The Eagles were. Well, they weren't chasing the Eagles before. They are now. So you don't want to get caught up in trying to mimic or trying to match those teams. But that's what building a complete team, when you say, okay, you're going to play your preferred way, we're not going to let you. We're going to be so good that we're not going to let you. Now, Savion Williams, I did not think, because of where he would have to be drafted, the Packers were going to take Savion Williams, simply because the production just wasn't ever there. 60 catches last year for 611 yards. That's not a lot. And that was 22. He's already 23. So, okay, but the athleticism at 6'3", almost 6'4", 222 pounds, he runs 4.48, which is a 96th percentile speed score. The problem is, and you guys know this, I care about these things, his dominator ranking, 23rd percentile. So that's target share, that's the percentage of first downs that he creates, how many touchdowns that he create relative to the rest of the team, and then target share, 47th percentile. So if you want to be a 1,000-yard receiver over the last decade, you better be 50 percentile or above in one of those, in either college dominator, target share, or breakout age. And he didn't even qualify for breakout age because he didn't. But if you envision him in a gadget role where you say, okay, Jayden Reed, you're going to be a real receiver, and you're going to have this other guy. He's going to do a lot. He lined up in Wildcat. He lined up as a running back. He lined up as a receiver. There's clips of him going up and over, mossing dudes for big plays, catching and going at 222 at that speed. It's why the Cordero Patterson comparison is made, because he's not a refined route runner, but he's 23. He's not really a running back, but he can play running back. And credit to Cordero Patterson, like he figured out late in his career that he's actually a pretty good running back. So this is a little bit of a flex. This is Brian Gutekunst at the toy store and saying, hey, Matt LaFleur, you can never have too many weapons, because you look around the league, it's the teams that can crank up the offense that win these games. Yeah, the Eagles played great against the Chiefs defensively. They also scored 30 plus in both of the games against the Chiefs. A very good defense. You just need answers. And when I look at this receiver core, you guys know that I like this receiver room. But Jayden Reed, slot receiver, can get vertical, run after catch. You can use him as a gadget guy. He's got an identity for what his role is in this offense. What is Romeo Doubs' identity for what his role is in this offense? He's a good player. He's a quality wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2-ish. He's a nice route runner. He's solid after the catch, can go up and make plays. Red zone, really good in the red zone. But what's his identity in this offense? What does he provide? What skill set does he provide? What role does he have? Dontavian Wicks, same question. I think Dontavian Wicks can be that backside X receiver that just gets open. We'll see if Matthew Golden can do that. I don't think so. But Matthew Golden has a big-time vertical skill set. A dedicated, you know what he is, vertical Z. And Savion Williams, no, he's not a complete player. He's not ever going to be a polished anything. But gadget guy, screens, schemed up touches, kickoff return, punt return. You see the high level skill set of what it is. Like what he is like the best possible outcome for that thing. And then take it even beyond the three guys that I mentioned at the top, Jaden Reed, Wicks, and Dobbs. I love the depth. Malik Heath is a really nice depth player, really nice wide receiver 5. He's a blocker. And a solid receiver, but a blocker. Like that's what he is. Bo Melton is fast, but he's like a less good version of Matthew Golden. If Matthew Golden hits what the talent is for him. So if you're just playing kind of less good versions of players that you'd like to have, then why not go get the best version of that? And so I think for the Packers, you go, okay, look, they have some nice depth, and now they're still deep, but you've upgraded some of those spots. Like I think you can make the case pretty comfortably if you want to use Savion Williams as that like Ty Montgomery, Deebo Samuel. He's a Y back or whatever. What do they call him? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Is he a running back? Is he a receiver? Is he a wing? Is he Taysom Hill? Is he going to be your tush push guy now? Like those kinds of things. It's just more toys for Matt LaFleur to play with. And I don't blame the Packers for going, this is the best way. Like you can scheme up the defensive part and there's going to be the variance in the defense and you've made the investment there. You got to focus on the offense, get some playmakers in here and figure this out. And I wouldn't be surprised. Look, I wouldn't be surprised if Romeo Doubs is just like not on this team in November at the deadline. If Golden hits the way that you think, maybe. And I think it's over for these guys in 2026. Romeo Doubs, almost certainly, and Christian Watson, depending on what he wants to do. If he wants to go somewhere and be a number one, he's got to leave. But if he likes being here, if he likes Matt LaFleur, if he likes being a Packer, love to Christian Watson, Matthew Golden, Jaden Reed, those three guys, the speed that they bring to this offense, that sounds great to me. Now, the defense, they do still need some bodies here, right? Like they're going to do something, right? I think so. We'll talk about it next on Locked On Packers. Today's episode also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Did you make a little money on the NFL draft? I hope you did. Well, you got the NBA playoffs now that the NFL draft is coming to a close. FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on all the action in the NBA playoffs. Bucks just beat the Pacers, beat the brakes off them. Gary Trent Jr. build the statue. Right now, when you place your bet on FanDuel, $5, you can get $250 in bonus bets if you win. And FanDuel makes it easy. Whether it's picking your favorite team or diving into player props, three-pointers, steals, assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet those props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. So defense, like they have to do something here at some point, don't they? Yes, they do. I think what we're learning is they clearly felt better about this group of defenders, not just defenders, but I think pass rush in particular. We thought they were going to be a bigger priority. They looked in the first round. They had an opportunity in the second round. They didn't take it. Like they could have drafted Landon Johnson. They didn't. So like Shedeur Sanders, is he really gonna be something to talk about? No, but they could have taken Jalen Royal. They took Savion Williams over Jalen Royals and Jalen Lane. I was pretty surprised about that. But there are some defensive players that I still really like here. Joshua Farmer from Florida State, the defensive tackle, has some Devontae Wyatt in his game, but is talented, long, can play 3-tech. I think you can play 5-tech if you wanted him to, if you wanted to go to a little odd front action. Reminds me a lot of Devontae Wyatt. Braden Swinson from LSU, someone who I really like. I thought could have been a middle of day 2 kind of pick. Pass rusher, thick, powerful, polished. Not quite sure what I'm missing here, why he's still on the board. I'm pretty surprised by that. And there's a bunch of running backs. I think they're going to take a running back here at some point. Maybe they just did. Maybe Savion Williams is that running back, but like Cam Scadaboo is still on the board. Dylan Sampson's still on the board. Devin Neal is still on the board. DJ Giddens still on the board. Jordan James. Like, there's a lot of fun players. The problem is, like, Quincy Riley at corner is small. And so, like, Zach Frazier from UTSA, are you really going to pretend like you watched a lot of Zach Frazier tape? Do they want to get some depth at safety here? Deion Walker is a nose tackle. CJ West, a nose tackle. I think they have to get one of the best names in the draft available, Tonka Hemingway at defensive tackle. They need a nose tackle, just from a bodies standpoint. People in the chat saying Jack Sawyer. Guys, Jack Sawyer is, not only does he have T-Rex arms, he's just not very good at football. So I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. But defensive tackle, nose tackle especially, they need to replace TJ Slaton. And what I've been saying is you can just replace TJ Slaton with where you drafted TJ Slaton, 4th round, 5th round, those kinds of guys. I am surprised it's gotten this far without corner being really addressed. But I wonder if, the Nate Hobbs piece is instructive here. Most rookies are bad. Shout out to the brothers that I met and hung out with today, who wore T-shirts that said most rookies are bad. And Nate Hobbs was not crazy expensive. They maybe overpaid for him a little bit based on the market, but he's a starting caliber corner. You can just get a guy like that. If you can just buy Xavier McKinney, now you have Nate Hobbs. You feel good about Javon Bullard. We'll see what happens with Keyshawn Nixon. I still think they need bodies in there, but they have liked their corners going back to before last season, I think more than we have for a long time. I think clearly the same is true with their pass rush. Like, they like Devontae Wyatt. We talked about this. If they want to bring back Devontae Wyatt, then these 3-techs, these penetrating, gap shooting, pass rushing 3-techs are just probably not going to be for them. Devontae Wyatt is that guy for you. Plus, you still have Carl Brooks. You've invested in Lucas Van Ness. You've paid Rashawn Gary. You like what you saw from Brenton Cox in a limited run at the end of the season when he was their most efficient pass rusher by far. And you have, you moved on from Preston Smith. You still have Kingsley Enagbare. It's his last year. But you've made the investment. It's Rashawn Gary. It's Lucas Van Ness. It's Brenton Cox. It's Devontae Wyatt. It's Kenny Clark. It's Carl Brooks. Like, they've got the guys. And then we know what the value is of having that secondary, that safety net, when you're building that roof on defenses, whether it's single high or 2 high. If Xavier McKinney's back there, they're just not throwing deep. They just don't want to throw the ball deep. And so that gives you that little extra half second as a corner to be all over it. You've got Adrian Cooper. You've got Quay Walker. If Quay Walker continues to play like he did at the end of last year, your front is really in a good place. And I know people are disappointed about Lucas Van Ness, but like, the Packers love that guy. They used the 13th overall pick on him. They made sure the pick swap was in the Aaron Rodgers trade, in part to ensure they would get Lucas Van Ness. So they're going to give him all the time in the world to get this together. Just because you don't believe in him doesn't mean they don't. And it doesn't mean either of you are right, but it only matters what they think, because they're the ones making the decision. So you pay Rashawn Gary a bunch of money. You use a first-round pick on Lucas Van Ness. You get a sort of surprise breakout performance from Brenton Cox, and your general manager is openly talking about extending your best interior pass rusher. Okay. And maybe what the Packers are betting on is, hey, make your offense your best defense. When you can stay balanced as an offense against the Packers, it makes it really hard to defend. But if you think the Packers are going to score 30 points every week, it makes it much easier to defend. When the Packers defense played its best last year, part of the reason was the offense was also playing well. You're keeping the pressure on opposing teams. And it's a little bit like what they used to do with Aaron Rodgers and say, our best defense is actually the offense. Because what we're going to make you do is chase us. And if you're chasing us the whole game, now we can pin our ears back. That makes you more predictable. Come rush the passer. And this team is built to rush the passer that way. Exotic blitzes, having some fun, Jeff Hafley style. We've had some fun Locked On Packers style over the last few days in Green Bay. This from my hotel room. Had some issues technically at the Draft Media Center, so we had to come back here and do it. But I want to thank everybody again who came out, who said hi. Some really incredible stories of people traveling to the draft. I love that too. And Mark Murphy did an incredible job. This is truly the crown jewel. I wouldn't say it's the crowning achievement. It's the crown jewel for Mark Murphy to build up Lambeau and the surrounding areas the way that he has. And to ensure the financial thriving of that area. I mean, it looks irrecognizable from when I first started coming to games in 1997. Irrecognizable. And in really some great ways. And so it's really been a cool weekend. Thanks to everyone who's been a part of it, who's come said hi. We're excited. We won't be in Green Bay next year. So this was a special experience. Hopefully we get to experience it again sometime soon in the future. Mark Murphy said, look, I hope we get to do this again. We're never getting a Super Bowl. So I hope we get to do this again. And I hope you'll come back next week when we're talking a lot more. I've already reached out to our old friend, Chancellor Johnson. He's talking about Matthew Golden. He did an awesome interview with Matthew Golden where they watched tape together and talked. And so I want to do that. We're going to dig into all of our rookie orientation series, getting to know these guys, plus our day 3 recap. We'll have a Monday show that is recapping everything. We'll sort of start with the what happened on day 3 and go from there. So follow me on all the social medias. We got more clips coming, a lot of fun stuff from the draft. I had Steve Ranazizi from the league. If you're a league watcher, we had him on. So we're going to play some clips from that on social media, maybe play some clips on the show as well. So a lot more here to come as we head toward the real off season. I mean, rookie camp is going to be here before you know it. We're going to have plenty to talk about. So follow me on all the social medias, follow the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe on iTunes so you can stay locked on Packers.